Hi everybody, so welcome to this second part of our rock, scissors, paper, computer versus player game. Now at the end of the first part you were challenged to come up with the logic for determining the score of a round. Okay, so the computer picks a random choice from our choices array. The player is then going to input a choice. We're going to deal with this today. We're going to try and figure out how to write a function that's going to generate or get a choice from the player and then return that choice back to the main program and assign it to this variable. So when we've got both of our choices, we can then use this logic to determine who won the round, and we update the scores accordingly. Okay? Now what I'm just going to do, before we just move on today, I'm just going to do a couple of things here. After we get the computer's choice and the player's choice, I'm just going to output those choices. So you chose player and the computer chose the computer choice here. And as well, in the while loop, after we've updated the score, let's just include, so it's not in the if statement, but it's in the while loop. We're just going to include another print statement just showing the latest score after each round. So your score is, what did I call it? Player score. And computer score Okay, just so we can see what's going on later when we actually run this program. It's a bit weird, guys, because we've written a lot of code and we haven't tested anything yet, so this isn't a really good way to write a computer program, okay? But we're just going to do it this way today anyway. Alright, so that is most of the game. When we get out of the while loop, by the way, here we're at the end of the loop. We're out of the loop. The only way we can get out of the loop is if the player has 3 points or the computer has 3 points. If either of those situations are true, that means we're actually out of the loop. So we need to determine who won the game. Not just who won the rounds, but who won the game. So when we're out of the loop, we're going to say if player score is the same as 3, it simply means you won. And of course, the only other condition there is the computer one. Let's say you win, to make it sound instant and dramatic, like a newspaper headline. And let's do the same for the computer. Brilliant. So that's the result of the game. Now what we're going to turn our attention to is the getPlayerScore function. Okay? And I'm going to give you an idea of how I'd like you to code the function, and then I want you to actually do it. Okay? You're going to code this function. So if you're new to functions in Python, we're going to define our function somewhere in this file. And when we run the program, when we get to this line of code here, this is what happens. We call the function does its magic, and then it returns a value which is assigned to this variable. That's how it's going to work. So I'm just going to do it right at the top. Let's do it after the import library file line of code there. Let's do it here. In Python, I'm going to define a function called getPlayerChoice. Okay. That's it. So this is our function header. Now then, let's take this big idea of getting the player choice and decompose it into a small series of steps. So let's do some decomposition here. Display a menu. In fact, I'm going to write this code for you right now because I want you to do the menu this way. We're just going to make it a little bit easy for the user and a little bit complicated for the programmer. So 1 is rock, 2 is scissors, and 3 is paper. So if the user clicks 1, it means they're choosing rock. If they click 2, it means they're choosing scissors, and if they click 3, it means they're choosing paper. So there's the menu. We're now going to validate. After displaying the menu, of course, we actually need to get the player's choice. I'm just going to make a variable called pChoice, and I'm just going to input. Notice that I'm not converting this to be an int. You can if you want, but we're not doing any maths with it, so I don't really think we need to do that conversion. Okay, so when I press 1 on the keyboard, it's just going to look like this. It's going to be the string version of a 1. And that should work. If you want to convert that to be an integer 1, then that's up to you. Okay, I'm not going to. Alright, so we get the choice and then we validate the choice. Validate the choice. So you're going to have to write a validation routine to make sure that the player only presses 1, 2, or 3 on the keyboard. If they press 4 or B or another character on the keyboard, a little warning's going to pop up. Hey, don't do that. Just please enter 1, 2, and 3. And then it will ask them to enter it again. Okay, so they'll have to input it again. So see if you can figure out how to create a validation loop. When we get a valid number, 1, 2, or 3, we're going to have to find a way, code a way to return the word rock if the user enters 1. Right? We want to return this word if the user clicks 1 from the menu. Okay? And they will return scissors if the user enters the character 2. And they will return paper if the user enters 3. Okay? So depending on the menu choice, we're going to return a different value. So see if you can figure out how to code the getPlayerChoice function, which returns either rock or scissors or paper, depending on the user's input.